Tommy's gonna taste the gin so that you don't have to. Let you save your money, yeah, that's what Tommy wants. Minimal dilution, cause we wanna taste the gins. But if the gins are bad, then we will throw them in the bin. Now let's hand it over to Tommy, who is gonna taste. He's gonna get all rowdy and shout up the place.
Hello and welcome back to Tommy Taste, the channel where I taste the gin so that you don't have to. Cries of yay can be heard all across the land as I go for Fieldfare Demel Dry Gin. Yay! Another regional German gin. This is fantastic. The reason that I do so many of these, one is to save you money if you do ever happen to be traveling in the fatherland, and two, is to kind of make a statement about regional gins. Sometimes they get it absolutely right, but a lot of the time they get it absolutely wrong. Where will Fieldfare fare within these? Who knows? But the thing that really pisses me off about regional gins, more to the point, is that they're often made by a farmer or someone who just has an excess of land and goes, well, you better be putting this land to good use. And that's exactly what this kind of is. You know, disused farm barns. Why not put a still in there? Do you like gin? Nah, but gin's very of the moment, so he may as well try and make some money on this bandwagon thing. Often they don't like the spirit or have a minimal understanding of it, and it shows within the product big time. Fieldfare could well be a classic example of this. Hailing from Hessen, so in the middle of Germany, which is such a wonderful place, you can find this gin. Whoa, there's way more to Hessen than just this gin. Don't forget the hard-boiled eggs, boiled potato and greensick pudding combo. However, it may be called St. Albert's gin. I'm really not sure, but the Fieldfare website doesn't work, and when I Google it, it doesn't bring anything back. However, St. Albert's gin is exactly the same thing, and that might be the gin that's being produced currently. Is this relevant? Who knows? Who the f*** even cares anymore? Things to know about this gin. 21 regional botanicals. That includes a lot of citrus, see buckthorn, some weird type of algae. What that means for the gin, fuck only knows, but bottled at 45%. Classic pot still distillation, blah. So we got German strength at 45%, German number of botanicals at 21, although not the Wild Gin 62 or whatever the fuck mad number that was. Whether it's a kind of convoluted mix of botanicals in the same way that we had with like the Duke Wonderlust gin, I don't actually know because I can't find any information on it. I think the best thing we do is just whack it in a glass and taste. Hessen. Hessen. So here I have my little measure of Fieldfare gin, named after a bird. Don't know what the significance of it. St. Albert's apparently is the old church that this is distilled in, so that possibly has more relevance. Who knows? Like I said, who the fuck cares? Let's have a whiff. The good news is this is a nice nose to begin with. It feels mature, it feels classically gin, lots of citrus in that, kind of the tart, kind of citrusy notes as well from the sea buckthorn, kind of like warming orange spice, maybe like a bit of cinnamon in there, black pepper, but nothing out of the ordinary, nothing, you know, that suggests there's 21 botanicals in here, but that may differ on the palate, so let's have a little taste. So before I start my criticism of this gin, I am going to say the palate's actually quite nice. I mean, if we're going to do numbers, then it's probably like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. There's nothing extraordinary about it. It's relatively generic in its gin flavour. The kind of more subtle nuances that I was getting with the nose, things like the orange, things like the ginger, I still get, but all of the intensity is like turned right up to 11. It is powerful, but not necessarily in a good way. The alcohol, the 45%, is very well incorporated, but it's not subtle or necessarily complex or pleasant on the palate. It just feels like a punch of citrusy kind of spice, and it feels quite dry and powdery. Not really what I was hoping for. So let's whack some ice in there and hope that with a little bit of dilution and chilled downness that we'll get something a little better, because this is confusing from nose to palate. Cheers! On the basis of this palette, I'm willing to bet that this gin does not have a fixative used in it. When I say fixative, once again, I mean things like angelica or something like orris root. These act in the same way to gin as a egg does in a cake mix, binding all of the ingredients together but not having an overly pronounced effect on the actual palate or nose of the gin itself. All of the complexity just vanishes immediately, and you're just left with like one standard flavor. And the standard flavor I get from this is still that citrusy kind of warming spice note, but it's now developed into a flavor that I can only describe really as Christmas cake. Not that this is necessarily bad, but a fixative would make everything just make a bit more sense, because you'd be able to distinguish botanicals and nice little subtleties within them. The tonics in there, God help us all.
Oh, what's the point of even adding music to this bit? We know it's going to be bad.
Yeah, not worth even talking about. Just vanishes, becomes a mist of tonic at that point in time. I am willing to bet that I am right. No fixative, because for some reason, Germans just have not got the hang of gin making yet. They don't put fixatives in there, and they treat them more like some kind of schnapps, where you don't need fixatives, because a schnapps is normally like one flavor, and that flavor is a little plum or some kind of weird pear that you've never heard of, or mint, or just herbal nonsense. They seem to think gin is exactly the same thing, and in thinking that, they miss the point of gin entirely. Just think about your botanicals. You don't need 21 in there if you can't get 4 or 5 right. And if you're going to put 21 in, why not just chuck in a fixative and you can say, oh, we put 22 botanicals in this, because it will make your gin better. This is definitely by far and away one of the better regional German gins that I've had. It is nowhere near being up there with a Monkey 47 or Elephant Gin, for example, which are mass produced for the reasons that they have got gin production correct. This is way better than a skin gin because it's not nonsensical, and it's way less loathsome than Huckleberry Gin ever was. However, it is a gin that's probably worth avoiding. Not bad to taste, but just not really what I want from gin. C-, okay for Germany, I guess. Bleh.
Yeah, like and subscribe, girl. Like and subscribe. What? Like and subscribe. Work it out.